So we finished talking about the communication model that had the sender and the receiver and the sender and the receiver and a channel and feedback and an environment and interference. So that communication model applies to all types of communication, as do these principles of communication that we're going to talk about today. So these principles apply to public speaking, interpersonal communication, which is communication between two people, small group communication, nonverbal communication, all of it. And these principles are overarching. So they extend to both your workers, your co-workers, and your family, and your friends, all of the relationships that you're building. So these principles are going to apply for the rest of the semester. Because this is an intro class or a survey class, we have a little bit of everything that we will touch on. We'll touch on interpersonal communication, which is relationships. If you like it, you can take a whole semester's course. We'll do a little bit of public speaking. If you love it, which you will, you can take a whole semester course. Small group, the same thing. And so we just sort of introduce these topics and get you interested so that then you can pursue them further if you want to. So these are principles, overarching. All right. The first one is that communication is a process of adjustment. Now, some people think, I just keep it real. This is how it is. And it's not supposed to be like that. Communication needs to adjust. So I want you to think about your class schedule and what it's like. And on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, you have 10 minutes to go between classes. So some of you might be in a math class or a science class that's taught by an older male, and your desks are in straight rows and you don't know anybody else's name. You have 10 minutes to leave that classroom and come to mine and have me, hello, do you want some candy? And all of my types of personality in my environment. And you can't say, Tanya, could you just calm down a bit? My math teacher, he's a lot more mellow. And this is hard for me. You can't do that. It's your job to adjust. So you can't go into a situation thinking that they're all going to be the same and that you are going to be the same, because you're not. Depending on who your teacher is and what the topic is, you need to adjust. That's what good students do. They learn their teacher's methods, they learn their teacher's philosophies, the things that are important to that teacher, and you adjust to that. Because you should be a different student in your science class than you are in mine. Because different things are required, different things are emphasized. You need to adjust. Now, the process of adjustment goes in a couple of ways. So, we have adjustment, the process of adjustment, if you're trying to write it all fancy. And this works with age. And if you can see the PowerPoint, whether you look at it right now or you pull it up yourself on Canvas in the assignment, you're welcome to do that. I have no idea what most of you young people are talking about, and I'm only 43, so I can't even imagine what older people. But this is, probs, defs, totes, LMS, KGO, what is that? And you need to realize that depending on who you're talking to, you need to change your vocabulary. You need to adjust the way that you behave in certain circumstances. You should not be in the same situation using the same language with your buddies on a Friday night as you are with your grandma at Sunday dinner. You need to adjust. And it doesn't mean that you're being fake. It's that you're a good communicator and you realize that this word won't have an impact with this group, but this one would. So you guys need to adjust to the older, and I need to try to stay hip and fresh as much as I can to sort of know what's going on, because there is that gap. And so we need to adjust to each other. So age is one way that there's a process of adjustment. The next one is culture. All right, now when we talk about culture, which we're going to do a lot in the class, culture goes from big all the way to small. So culture can be big, and when we think about it, sometimes we think about the planet and how every country has its own culture, its own customs, its own language. That is so true. So yes, culture is big, but culture can also be smaller. If we go to the United States, for example, there is a much different culture in the Northeast, the New York area, than there is in the Deep South. And that's different than it is over here in the Southwest, including California. And so if you think about it, even within America, there are very different cultures. Those of you who have lived other places and traveled, you might know which cultures are more friendly, which ones are more slow and laid back, and you need to adjust to that. You can't go to another country and say, hey, this is the way I like it, so this is the way all you guys should be. Okay, so it starts big country to country, also within our country, and then even in our valley. Think about all the different cities that we have in our valley and how different they are from each other. You have to adjust because it's different in Paradise Valley and Scottsdale than it is going to be in Apache Junction or Globe. It's even different from Gilbert to Tempe. So that's a process of adjustment because we've built our own cultures. Neighborhoods try to build their own cultures. My neighborhood has a fountain. Well, mine has gates. Mine has a giant flower bed. Mine is named Paradise. We all have these subdivisions now that we can say where we live because we want it to be this little culture that we create even in our neighborhoods or subdivisions. Culture also is within home to home. You might have had a best friend growing up and you spent a lot of time over at their house. Maybe you had dinners, maybe you even went on vacations with them. And you knew what rules you could get away with at the friend's house versus at your own house. Their way of having family dinner was probably different than it was at your own house. You adjusted. You didn't expect them all to be exactly what you needed to be. And so that's an important thing. If any of you have ever lived in the same apartment and you've had 2 different roommates at different times, that one roommate creates a whole different culture. Whether it's a culture of we eat together now, or this person's a slob, this person stays up late, I try to get out as soon as I can. This person we hang out with and we go out. There's so much that can happen by one person. The youngest of us in the home, as the older ones leave, the house changes every single time someone else leaves, and we have to adjust to that. Sometimes it's a good adjustment, but we adjust. All right, so within this, you can also see all of the different ways of greeting one another. And when we go to other countries, we need to study up, we need to prepare and know what we're getting into so that we are accepting and we're the ones that adjust to them. So we have, can you imagine, here we are, wave, hey, hey, and over here, somebody else, they're expecting the on the cheek. And we're waving. In some countries, then you don't stick out your hand and shake hands because in many countries, especially those that have a Muslim base, men don't shake the hands of women that aren't their sisters or their close family relatives. And so you don't go in shaking hands with everybody else. And so you can't go to their country and just expect everybody to do as you do. Yet, if we have a Muslim woman in the United States applying for a job, she knows that, given the circumstances, she needs to shake hands. And that she's not doing anything bad, it's just not her custom, it's not her norm, so she has to adjust. And so when you look at all the different ways that people greet, we have to get used to it, and we have to respect them, and not think that everybody's going to be just like us. We don't want them to be. All right, ethnocentrism. This is a word that you need to know. So adjustment is of age and culture. There's going to be one more thing here. But we also need to know the definition of ethnocentrism. Centrism. Okay, so looking at this root, ethno. So if we look at ethnicity, that's the same root as ethnic food. So this is your race and your culture, your ethnicity, yes? And center, right here, is the center of everything. Like egocentric people, they think that their ego themselves are the center. So with this one, these people think that their culture, their ethnicity, is the center of all the world. And we Americans are really good at that. And that's what ethnocentrism is. It does not adjust because you think you're the center. So let's look at this. America, we're number one. So, the world according to Americans. So this place above us must be uninhabited. We don't even really consider Canadians as anything. Hey, but look, here's more America out here. Pointing here, they do our laundry and our lawns. Coffee comes from here, I think. Cruise ships go here. That's where Santa is. So do you see how this whole hemisphere revolves around what they bring us, what they can do for us? And then we go over here. Oh, bombs go here because this is the evildoers. This is where the call centers are. Hey, they make our stuff. They make TVs and cameras. Zoo animals come from here. Kangaroos, cold. We just see the whole world from our little perspective rather than looking to what really goes on. That's ethnocentrism, and that's why a lot of countries outside of the United States don't love us, because we go into their countries and expect them to behave and act and cater to us. Like in France or things like that, when an American gets drunk in a bar or at a pub or a lounge, whatever they call them, it is so obnoxious to them. There they are, that Americans, you know, we're louder, we're more boisterous, we own rooms like this, and that's why a lot of countries don't like us, is because we're ethnocentric. We really do think that we're the most important and that we're the center of all. All right, so it's also a process of adjustment with speech. So we've had a process of adjustment with age, with culture, we're adding speech. So this slide is interesting. Who are the fastest talkers? So orange means that they're the fastest, and pink means that they're the slowest talkers. So our fastest talkers are in the Pacific Northwest, which kind of surprised me because they seemed more like mellow tree huggers, Oregon, peace, Nirvana type of stuff. So I was really surprised that they were our fast talkers. And then kind of in the Corn Belt. And then if we talk about the slowest ones, so many of them are in the South, in the areas that are, people aren't so on top of each other in cities. It's more communities and what are little cities called? Little towns? Yep. Anyway, and so they're more spread out, and that's also another reason why they're slower. Now, the process of adjustment is that you can't think that your way is best. I know that sometimes as fast talkers, if someone's telling a story and we think that they're talking too slow, we pretty much run over them and finish the story for them because, you know what, this is taking too long. And we run right over them. And we think, what are you, dumb? Come on, spit it out. And the slow talkers look at the fast talkers going, you're so intense all the time. Why are you so stressed out? Why are you making, you know, and they just think that fast talkers are wired all the time and that that's not healthy. And so you have to realize that one's not better than the other. We just need to adjust. And along with that is who talks the most. So the blue are our most talkers. Number 1, New York. Number 2, California. Number 3, New Jersey. So 3 of the top 5 are actually over yonder way on the northeast. Ooh, Nevadans talk a lot too. And the least, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Iowa. It's interesting. It said that this is Idaho. I'm from there, so I should know. This is Idaho. They are fast talkers, but they don't talk very often. So it's interesting to see some of the overlaps. And you need to adjust. So if people are thinking, you talk all the time, you know, you consume a room. But where they're from, it's normal. And some of you who don't talk very much, we talk kind of a lot here. If you look at Arizona, we're in one of the most categories. So when you're quiet and sitting back, I just don't have much to say, we sort of wonder if you're mad at us. So it's a process of adjustment. Okay, next. Number 1, communication is a process of adjustment. Number 2, communication is a package of messages. Package of messages. Okay. So just like you get a package from the UPS man or for your birthday or for Christmas, there's an outside and there's an inside. And sometimes the outside is beautifully wrapped with a bow and you just think, oh, that is gorgeous. And then you open it and you're like, nice sweater, Grandma. And other times, maybe the present is perfect, but the person is so excited to give it to you, they just give it to you in the sack or behind the bag, and it's not really wrapped well or presented well, but what is inside, they obviously know you and love you and care about you. There's an outside and an inside. Now, ideally, those would match. Wouldn't that be great? As if what we saw was always what was underneath. But the same is true with communication. There's an outside and an inside, but We want them to match, that so when someone says that they're happy on the outside, that they really are on the inside, that's ideal. But sometimes we have to realize that there's a difference between what people say and the way they really feel. So, the inside and the outside. Verbal. I think I'm going to erase. Verbal is what is said, and that is the outside. Verbal means words. Okay. So we have verbal, and that's what is said. Okay, so those are actually people's words, whether they're hello or howdy or sup, whatever words they use, that's the verbal part. Now, then we have the nonverbal. Nonverbal means without words, and this is how it is said. How it is said. So that when someone said, I told you, I'm fine, do you really think that person is fine? Their words say, hey, they're fine, I should just walk away. But it's how they say it. Like when people say, no, you should go ahead without me. Yeah, go ahead. Or, no, it wouldn't bother me if you did that. Or, yeah, that sounds great. You should go out and do that. Can you tell that what I'm saying is not at all how I'm feeling? So as a communicator, you have to be receptive enough to know that sometimes there's a difference. In this example, in the sign, I'm depressed, sad, hurt, confused, all of these words. But what do we hear? I'm fine. How often do we do that? And a good communicator looks beyond those words at how it is said. Because nonverbal is more powerful. Nonverbal makes up 65% of your communication, and that's your facial expressions, your tone of voice, your movement, your appearance, your eye contact, gestures, posture, actually the list goes on. So, if there's a contradiction between what somebody says and how they say it, you should believe how they say it, because sometimes people can say anything that they think you want to hear. Oh, you want to hear that, yes, I love you. How are they treating you like they love you? Are they acting like they love you? Because how they say it is more important sometimes than what they say. And people bring it up, well, you said, stop fixating so much on the words. What was the intention behind it? And on the other side of that, sometimes people think, he's never even said he loved me. We've been together for like 6 months, and you're so worried about those 3 words of I love you. How is the person acting? Are they treating you like you're a priority? Are they making you feel that this is a special thing for them? So the words will come. Don't focus so much on the words, because nonverbal is where most of your information comes from. All right, number 3. Principle involves content and relationship dimensions. Okay. So, you know how I said that the I'm fine, the verbal is the words and the nonverbal is how? This also has 2 different ways of looking at the same message. The content is actually the words that you are saying. The relationship helps you interpret it. For example, if I were to ask, what's the name of a naughty student? Mark? Sure. Mark, I need you to stay after class. Most people go, ooh, what's going on? What did he do? The content was just stay after class. That's all the content was, but the relationship. When a teacher asks a student to stay after class, there's an assumption that something must be wrong, they must be in trouble, especially given your experience. If Mark has been in trouble a lot, then he's automatically going to assume that, yep, he's in trouble again because of the relationship. You don't have employees go up to their boss and say, I need you to come by my cube before you leave today. You don't get to boss your boss around. You know, the content could still be there, like, if you get a chance, I would love to speak with you before you leave today. Just give me a call and I'll come over to your office, or whatever it might be. So you can still have the message, but the relationship tells you kind of how you can say it and how you should interpret it. Here's some examples for you. This is a single person versus a person in a relationship, they're both at a party. Here's the content. Want to get out of here. Want to get out of here. That's the same content in both. When you're single and someone says, want to get out of here? That has a whole different meaning than when you're actually together in a relationship and he goes, do you want to get out of here? Yes, I'm so sick of wearing pants. Because she wants to go put on her comfy pajamas or something like that. But when you're in a relationship, that takes on a whole different meaning. See, do you get it? How the content is the same, but the relationship tells you how to interpret it. I have another example for you. Do you want to go to lunch? There's the content. The message is going to lunch. So when we have one female, one feminine person asking another feminine person to go to lunch, sometimes we can say, do you want to go to lunch next Tuesday at Paradise Bakery? So is it that I know I'm going to be really hungry next Tuesday for Paradise Bakery? Not so much. It's about the relationship. I am willing to make time for you. You are important enough that you are on my calendar. I am putting everything else aside and focusing on you. It does not matter what we talk about. It could be gossip, it could be boys, it could be TV, it could be anything. The point is, you're important enough for me to make time. And so the content is, do you want to go to lunch? But really, that whole message is about the relationship and that you're important. So if we looked at it another way, do you want to go to lunch? So the first one was feminine to feminine. Now we're asking if it's masculine to masculine. Do you want to go to lunch? What's that about? Generally, it's about, I need to eat some food. Can you give me a ride? Or I need to eat some food. I guess you can sit by me. And it's not really about the relationship at all, the content. It's about the food. And so that's a whole different meaning. Does that make sense? So the relationship versus the content. So I've used these words and now we need to define them a little bit. So when we're talking about relationship versus content, feminine. Okay, oftentimes I'm going to use the word girl just because it's one syllable, girl. But there's so much more to feminine than that. It's not about sexuality. It's not about what body parts you were born with. It's not about your sexual orientation. Feminine is just a way to describe somebody that is more compassionate, more nurturing, more careful, more sensitive, more communicative. They just have a different kind of softer type of persona. My husband is a feminine man. And he hates it when I say that because, oh, I'm not. You know what? He hates sports. He doesn't understand why people would get in a fight over a ball. He's not aggressive like that. And at work, he doesn't push people around to get at the top of the chain. And he actually likes talking to me. So it has nothing to do with sexual preference or anything like that. Feminine is this type of characteristics, okay? So we talk about nurturing, communicative, patient, nurturing. You can write all of those words. So if that's what feminine is, then we have masculine. Masculine is more competitive. The person is more aggressive. They are more driven. They are more controlling. And so that can be also a woman. For example, if we talk about Hillary Clinton, she is a masculine woman because she does have that drive. She does have that level of aggression. To run for president of the United States where people say absolutely horrible things about you, she has to have that, I want to climb. Some of you who have bosses, you might have a feminine boss. This is what it would sound like. When you get a chance, could you go bus table 5? Thanks. When you get a chance, could you, I should have said please, could you please bus table 5? Thanks. And that's feminine. Masculine is table 5 needs to be bussed. And it's not that that masculine table 5 needs to be bussed is rude or mean, it's just definitely more masculine. It's not the, when you get a chance, could you please? And some of you might prefer to work for just the direct. If you want me to bus table 5, tell me. If you're like, when you get a chance, well, I don't feel like I have a chance right now. So you have to be able to understand that depending on if the person is feminine or masculine. I can guarantee that when your roommate, if it's a feminine roommate, said, can you take out the trash when you get a chance? Usually we want the trash taken out right now. We just don't say it that way. So you have to realize that it's a feminine quality. All right, so feminine and masculine. Do you want to go shopping? Okay, so I want you to be able to figure this one out on your own. Content versus relationship. To the feminine, do you want to go shopping? Okay, so the content for feminine, do you want to go shopping? The relationship. When a woman asks, do you want to go shopping? What are they asking? Do you want to go with me to the ball? Do you want to spend time together? Do you want to laugh together? Do you want to, hold hands while we're walking? Do you want to tell me that I look good in this outfit? Make time for each other. So when we say, do you want to go shopping? We're actually asking, will you be my partner? And when a man hears, do you want to go shopping? That's what he imagines. You're just going to put a lot of clothes on me. What, do you want my money? And so then we have this big problem, is they're looking at the content. No, why would I want to go shopping? And so then the feminine feels all hurt because you wanted to spend time with me. I don't want to go shopping. The same thing is true with like chick flicks. I don't want to see that movie. And the feminine hears the relationship isn't important enough to you that you're willing to watch a movie that I want to. And the content, do you want to see that movie? No, I don't want to see that movie. Do you see how people get in so many fights based on this whole content versus relationship? Do you want to go to my parents' house this weekend for dinner? Okay, masculine, the content. Do I want to go to a parent's house for... No, I don't want to go to a parent's house. There's a game on. Okay, that's the content. The relationship. I'm asking, are we at that point in our relationship where you want to meet my parents? Because that's kind of a big deal. See? All right, next. Communication is, and now there's going to be a list. Communication is purposeful. Communication is purposeful for quite a few reasons, actually. To learn and to acquire knowledge. That's basically how we learn. Even those of you that take online classes, still it's part of the communication to have the emails, to have the assignments, to have, some of your teachers might have discussion boards or interactive Skype sessions or something like that. But that's why we communicate, is to learn more information. Another reason, so you'll write that, purposeful, and then you'll write that. It's also to relate and form relationships. You cannot have a relationship without communication. It cannot happen. So for those of you that have been in a romantic relationship and then you've tried to do the long distance thing, I am not saying that your relationship can't survive, but I am saying that your relationship will weaken because of it. You are going to have to make such a stronger effort to make sure that that connection stays there, because you have to keep communicating. If you don't, then the relationship will die. So you just have to put extra effort into it and make sure that that communication is real, it's important. So that happens in romance. It happens between parents. And I think sometimes parents and teens miss this, that in order to actually have a strong relationship with your parent, you have to tell them what's going on. And as parents, we have to listen and not overreact so that we can have that relationship. Oopsies. This one is with your teachers at school, and you don't want to just come in and be a silent shadow and then go away. In order to build a relationship with your teacher, you have to talk to me. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stay after every class. Sometimes you can email me, and you don't have to email me every day. Just say, hey, we know each other. We're in the same class. And the last one is even at work. You have to communicate to know what your goals are, how your team is going to work together, when your deadlines are. So you really need to know that communication is a part of every relationship that you have. To help or to assist by listening. It said listening to a friend is just as important as talking. If you have a friend who is really struggling and you don't know how to help them, the number one thing that you can do is stop talking and listen. That's what you can do to help, is to just stop talking and listen. The next one is to influence, to strengthen or to change attitudes. This is why I'm a teacher, because I really want you to know that communication is going to change your life, and that if you just do what I tell you to do and obey my every command, you can be so much happier. And I want to influence you and change your attitude about relationships and